Okay, real talk for a second. You've been doing everything right. You've been updating your resume. You've been applying. You're on LinkedIn. You're doing the things. And somehow, it's just not clicking the way it used to. And the question in the back of your head, the one you maybe don't say out loud, is it my age? And the answer is, well, kind of, but not in the way you think. It's not that companies don't want experience. They desperately do. It's that the way you've been taught to present that experience is completely misaligned with how hiring actually works in 2026. The game has changed. Nobody sent you the update. And that's what today is about, because I've spent the last decade helping over 4,000 people land jobs at places like Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Netflix. And I can tell you with complete confidence, the people who are winning after 45 are not the ones who are trying the hardest. They're the ones who figured out that the rules changed and they've adapted. So today, we're going to go through 6 specific things that are different about the job search after 45. And more importantly, what you can actually do about each one, like today. Not build your personal brand over 6 months, actual moves today. By the way, I'm Mary Southern, founder of Resume Assassin. And if this kind of job search content is useful to you, the subscribe button exists and it does work. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the one that everyone knows about and almost everyone is getting wrong. ATS, applicant tracking systems, the software that supposedly filters your resume sometimes before a human actually even sees it. You've heard the warnings. Make sure your resume is ATS friendly. Use the right keywords. Don't use tables or graphics, right? That's not wrong. Exactly. But the way it gets explained creates this paranoid resume writing approach where you end up with a document that looks like it was written by ChatGPT, trying to convince Claude that it's a human. And that's a huge problem. Here's what's actually happening. ATS doesn't reject you because your resume looks pretty. It deprioritizes you because your language doesn't mirror the job posting. That's it! That's the whole thing. So the fix isn't to make your resume uglier. The fix is to speak the same language as the job description. Here's the quick win. Take the job posting, paste it into a word cloud tool, see what words are the biggest. Those are the words showing up most in the posting. Now go look at your resume. Are those words in there? Not synonyms, I'm talking the actual words. Because the ATS is not smart enough to know that team leadership and people management mean exactly the same thing. You need the words they used. Now here's the part that's especially relevant after the age of 45. You've been doing this so long that you've developed your own vocabulary for your work. You call it stakeholder alignment. The job posting calls it cross-functional collaboration. You call it P&L ownership. They call it budget management. Same things, different words. ATS puts you into the no pile. This is a really fixable problem, and it's fixable in one afternoon. Go through every job you're applying to and do a 5-minute language audit on your resume. Match their words to your words. Not fake, but your actual experience, their actual vocabulary. I've seen this one change take someone from 0 callbacks to 4 in 1 week. Not because they changed their experience, because they changed their translation. Okay, this one's gonna sting a little bit, and I do apologize in advance. Everyone tells you to use your network, and you probably have a really great network. You've been in your industry for 20 years. You know people. You've got the connections. You've got real relationships. That impressive, hard-earned network full of C-suite people and senior directors and VPs. After 45, your network is almost entirely made up of people at your level or above. And here's the reality of hiring. The people at your level or above are not the people making the call on whether to bring you in for an interview. They're often not even involved in the process until the very final round. The people who actually decide whether your resume gets a second look, they're often 5 to 8 years younger than you. They're managers, senior managers, directors, people you might have managed at some point in your career. People who are not in your network because you've been spending your time networking up, not across or down. This is what I call the diagonal network problem. Your connections are vertical, same level or higher, but the conversations that lead to interviews are happening horizontally and diagonally with people you've never thought to cultivate. So here's the quick win. And it's so simple, it almost feels too easy. Start engaging with the content of people who are slightly below your seniority level in companies that you're interested in. Comment on their LinkedIn posts. Ask genuine questions. Share their stuff, right? And not in a fake way, oh, I've actually been doing this for 20 years and I find your take really interesting. You have something that those people want. Perspective, pattern recognition, experience that they don't have yet. Use it. Be really generous with it. Show up as a resource, not a job seeker. Because here's the thing about networking after 45. You're not trying to impress down. You're trying to be known, familiar, the person someone thinks of when a role opens up and they mention it to their boss. That's how the hidden job market actually works. And it starts in the LinkedIn comments section. More on that in just a minute, okay? Let me paint you a little picture. You spend, 20 plus years building this big, great career. You have results. You have impact. You've led teams, driven revenue, transformed organizations, and you put all of that on your resume. Because why wouldn't you? You worked really hard for it. And then a 32-year-old hiring manager reads it and thinks, this person is going to cost a fortune, know everything better than me, and either be bored or try to take my job within the next 6 months. That's a horror story. You wrote it by accident. Your resume, as written, is accidentally telegraphing threat signals. Here's what sets those signals off. Titles that are too senior. Compensation history implied through scope. Achievements that are so big they feel intimidating rather than impressive. And dates that do the math for the reader automatically. Now, I want to be very, very clear. I am not telling you to hide your experience. That's terrible advice and it doesn't work anyway. What I am telling you is to frame your experience differently. The frame that works? Consultant energy. Okay. Think about how a consultant presents themselves. They don't walk into a room and say, hey, I've run departments bigger than your whole company. They walk in and say, here's a specific problem I've solved before. Here's how I approached it. Here's what happened. They lead with usefulness, not authority. That's the reframe. Not I managed a team of 50, but I've built and scaled teams through hyper growth. Here's what that taught me about what breaks first. Not, I oversaw a $40 million budget, but I've had to make resource decisions under pressure, and I know where the bodies are buried in a P&L. Same experience, different posture. One signals, I've arrived. The other signals, I'm really useful. Quick win here. Okay, go through your resume bullets and ask this question about each one. Does this make me sound impressive, or does it make me sound useful? Impressive bullets stay in. Useful bullets stay, and they get moved up. Pure status bullets, rewrite them as capability bullets. The goal is a resume where someone reads it and thinks, I want this person working on my problems, not this person has bigger problems than me. Okay, this one is just a little bit awkward to talk about because it's not really a problem. It's actually a strength that's being misread, but it's tanking interviews. So we absolutely need to address it. When you've been doing something for 20 years, you know some things, right? You know nuance. You know context. You know it depends. When someone asks you a question in an interview, you give a complete answer. You think about the question, you consider multiple angles, you share the complexity. And the person across the table, who is often younger and less experienced, is interpreting that as slow to answer, can't be concise, might be high maintenance. I know, it's genuinely unfair, but it's also genuinely happening. Here's the dynamic. In a world of just flat organizations with younger managers, the communication style that signals competence has shifted. Confidence now reads as brevity, expertise as simplicity. The person who answers in 90 seconds and nails it is perceived as sharper than the person who answers in 4 minutes and is technically more correct. Structure it like this: 1 sentence on the situation, 2 or 3 sentences on what you specifically did, 1 sentence on the result. That's it, full stop. If they want more, they'll ask. And when they do, now you're in a dialogue, not a monologue. The trap is thinking that more is better. It doesn't. It never did in interviews, but it especially doesn't now. Practice this. Actually practice it. Record yourself answering common interview questions and time yourself. You'll be shocked how long your brief answers actually are. Cut them in half, then cut them in half again. I know a woman who'd been interviewing for 6 months with no offers. She did this exact exercise, cut her answers by about 60%, and got an offer at the next company she interviewed with. Same answers, but just half of the words. Brevity is not dumbing down. Brevity is respect for the other person's time. And in an interview, it's power. Everyone knows the hidden job market exists. Somewhere between 60 and 80% of jobs are filled without ever being formally posted. You've heard this. What you haven't been told is where those conversations are actually happening and how to get into them. Spoiler, it's not at networking events. It's not in coffee chats that you requested on LinkedIn. It's not posting your resume on job boards. It's not even really in your direct messages. It's in the comments section. Okay, I know that sounds like I've completely lost my mind, but stay with me. LinkedIn's algorithm surfaces comments far more than posts. When you leave a thoughtful comment on someone's content, their entire network sees that comment, not just their followers, their network. And if your comment adds genuine value, you're suddenly visible to thousands of people in your industry who have never heard of you. Here's the strategy. Find 10 to 15 people on LinkedIn who are active posters in your target industry or companies. These should be people who are a level or two below where you're targeting. Think like managers, directors, senior contributors, people who are building their own visibility. Set a reminder and spend 15 minutes a day leaving 3 to 5 genuinely thoughtful comments on their recent posts. Not like great posts or I agree, actual responses. This reminded me of a situation where, or the flip side of this is I've seen, or a question. What have you found that this holds in X scenario? You're doing 2 things at once. You're becoming a familiar presence to people who influence hiring, and you're demonstrating your expertise publicly without ever having to pitch yourself. Within 2 or 3 weeks of doing this really consistently, you will start getting connection requests from people you've never reached out to. And those connections turn into conversations. And those conversations turn into, hey, actually, we might have something. This is how the hidden job market actually works in 2026. Not who you know, but who knows you. And here's why this is especially powerful after 45. You have actual things to say. You have perspective. You have experience. That content in your comments, that is your differentiator. You're not fake networking. You're genuinely contributing. That's a level of authenticity that 25-year-olds literally cannot replicate. Okay, hot take time. And this one I feel very strongly about. The most common piece of advice given to job seekers over 45 is some version of modernize your brand, right? Learn the new tools, get on TikTok, use AI, show them your current. And look, I'm not saying ignore technology. Obviously use AI. Obviously know what tools your industry is using. But the underlying strategy, the idea that your job is to prove you're not outdated is completely wrong. And it's subtly humiliating. And it doesn't actually work. Here's why. Everybody is modernizing. I mean, it's the commodity move, right? The market is flooded with people trying to show how current they are. If your pitch is, I'm just as relevant as a 30-year-old, you're gonna lose that comparison every single time because the 30-year-old is actually 30. The winning move is the exact opposite, okay? Stop trying to blend in. Start doubling down on what makes you categorically different. And what makes you categorically different? You have seen things fail. You have seen things work. You've navigated recessions, reorganizations, leadership changes, market collapses. You have pattern recognition that cannot be downloaded, cannot be prompted, and absolutely cannot be faked. There is a specific thing that AI, for all of its impressiveness, absolutely cannot do. It cannot know what the second order effects of a decision will be in your specific industry, with your specific stakeholder dynamics, in your specific organizational context. That knowledge lives in people who have been doing the thing for 20 years. It lives in you. So the positioning shift is this. Instead of I'm current, go with I'm rare. Instead of I can learn your tools, go with I've made every mistake you're about to make already somewhere else, so you don't have to. That is an incredible value proposition. And it's one that gets more valuable as AI gets better. Because the more AI can do the generic work, the more premium the judgment work becomes. And judgment is your home turf. Concretely, find 2 or 3 moments in your career where your experience let you see something coming that other people missed, or avoid a mistake that would have been expensive. Put those stories right in your back pocket. Use them in interviews. Put a version of them in your LinkedIn About section. Lead with wisdom, not with credentials. Credentials say, I've been places. Wisdom says, I know things. Companies are desperate for people who know things. Stop hiding it. Own it. All right, let me bring this all together. Job searching after 45 is different. That part is true. But the difference is not what most people think. It's not that companies don't want experience. It's not that you're somehow less competitive. It's that the mechanics of the search have shifted and the traditional playbook is completely outdated. So here's what you're taking away today. Your resume needs to speak the employer's language, not yours. Mirror the job posting vocabulary. Your network is probably too senior to be useful for job searching right now. Build diagonally, not just up. Frame your experience as useful, not impressive. Consultant energy, not authority energy. Cut your interview answers in half, and then half again. Brevity is confidence. Get visible on the LinkedIn comment section. That's where the hidden job market actually lives today. And stop trying to sound current. Sound rare, because you freaking are. Now, here's the real talk at the end. None of these are overnight fixes. Some of them, especially the networking and visibility stuff, takes a few weeks to gain traction. But they work, and they work specifically for where you are right now. If you want help going deeper on any of this, especially on the resume and LinkedIn optimization side, head to resumeassassin.com. And if you know someone in this exact situation who could use a reality check and some actual tactics, share this with them. That's genuinely the biggest way you can support what I'm doing here. I'll see you in the next one.